Heidi ho, nomies! Can you believe it's been 3 years since we built the tiny house mass heater? Time flies when you're having fun. That means it's time for a review. And while we're at it, we're going to do a midwinter clean out too. Roll the intro.
You ready? Let's go.
Alright, nomies, here we are at the top side of the mass stove. We got our cooking side, which is above the firebox. That gets pretty hot. And then we got our mass side. If you're unfamiliar with the tiny mass heater, that means you didn't watch the other videos. What are you doing? Go back and watch it. Get that link in the bottoms. Down there. Check it out. Anyway, back to this. Alright, in September, we opened up this side. We cleaned out the chimney. Cleaned out this side, got everything nice and clean. It's been working great. And now it's time to do a big cleaning on it. So we're going to open up both sides here, get it all cleaned out nice and good, make sure everything's going good, and then get it fired back up because the cabin's getting cold. We did let this cool down, that way we don't burn ourselves because there's a lot of mass in here and it holds a lot of heat. So let's get this opened up. First, better get rid of the chop block. Now, like I said, this side I had opened up back in September and cleaned out real good, along with the chimney. So let's see what this thing's going to. Ooh, look at that creosote. Oh yeah, she's time for a cleaning. Alright, let me get all this opened up and we'll get going here. Alright, look at that down in there. Oh, we'll get a light on here and get a better look here in a second, but get this gasket off here because we're going to be replacing this gasket. Now, let's open up the cook side. Like I said, I haven't opened up this side for a year. Come on now. So we shall see what we shall see. There we go. This actually ain't bad at all. Alright, let me get a better light, better view, better camera angles. Stand by. Alright, we got you set up a little bit closer here. We got our firebox size here, firebox down there. Piece of wood down there. And how this thing works is fire comes up here, goes down here, goes down there, goes up, 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 up. Go back and watch the other videos. Anyway, these are our chambers. This is our firebox. Now, there isn't very much dirt over here. That's why I only clean this side out once a year. That's circulating nice. But this side over here, you can see lots of creosote buildup, which isn't bad, because more creosote in here means less creosote in the chimney, which means less cleaning out. Oh yeah! Anyway, fire up the generator, get the shop vac, everything I need. Get this thing cleaned out. Alright, we got a shop vac hooked up. Let's get busy. Let's get cleaning with it, huh? Alright, up with the music, down with the volume on this. Because you don't want to hear a vacuum. Let's go, 1, 2, 3, hit it! Okay guys, we got our gasket replaced around here. Everything cleaned out real good. All the way down, there was about 6 inches of fly ash down there. And then when you transition over to here, it turns more into creosote. Because one, I've been burning a lot of, burning a lot of black spruce, which is full of sap and creosote. And then down there, oops, down there, that elbow, we got all that cleaned out. And chimney should be good until September again. Anyway, alright, we'll get this top down on here, and then we can put these mass bricks back on top and put that gasket back on and get this thing fired up, because it's getting chilly in the cabin. Well, there you go, Gnomies. That wasn't too difficult, was it? This thing's been working like a champ. Let's go over some pros, some cons, and some changes we might make. Pro number 1, the wood consumption. This thing has been working phenomenally as far as wood consumption goes. The first year we had this in here, we used about 2.5 cords of wood, which wasn't too bad. We had about 2 or 3 weeks of sub temperature weather, like -20, -30, hence the increase in wood. Last year, we only burned 2 cords. It was a much milder winter. This year we're on track for a little bit under 2 cords. We might make 2 cords, depends on what the weather does. Either way, 2 cords of firewood compared to what I used to burn in a traditional wood stove, phenomenal! The next thing is heat retention. We had a lot of people commenting on using cement bricks, and you shouldn't use cement bricks because they're going to crack, they're not going to work properly. Not a single crack. It's working great. And as far as the heat retention goes, it's been incredible with that too. If I get this thing completely heated up as much as it'll heat up, it'll last about 6-7 hours. Still radiating heat into the cabin, even with no fire, which means we're burning less wood and we're staying warm. Another pro is the clean out. When it comes to the midwinter clean out, everybody's usually getting up on their roof, cleaning out their chimney. With this thing, I haven't had to. You saw the inside. All the creosote ended up in here. Very little in the chimney, except for down there at the elbow. That being said, midwinter, I don't have to get on the roof. All I gotta do is open this thing up, clean it out, good to go. Another pro with this thing is the variety of wood that I can use to burn in this thing. Generally, I avoid burning birch unless it is, like I said, -10, -20, because this thing gets actually way too hot. I live in a tiny house. Things heat up fast, things cool down fast. But birch, way too hot to burn in this thing. We mostly burn spruce, but we even throw some cottonwood in here when it's about 30-40 degrees in here. We need to take the chill off, because cottonwood's a very low BTU. Most people throw it away because it doesn't put off enough heat. Well, for us, it's perfect. Now the cons. Start up when it's super cold. If this thing is super cold, you're going to have a hard time getting this thing to get the initial draw going. But there's a simple fix for that. So what I generally do is got one of those little tiny cook stoves, and I'll put it underneath the elbow down there at the bottom of the chimney. I'll heat up that chimney, and once that chimney starts heating up and I light a fire in here, the smoke knows which way to go. Break out the big gun, get that chimney hot. As a cook stove, it does work great as a cook stove. The only problem is, if I'm not having a fire in here all the time, I can't cook on it. So I can only cook on it when I've got a fire going, which isn't all day, every day. So you sort of got to plan a little bit. But I got a propane stove for that. Picks up the slack. Size. This is a great size for a house, probably 3 times as big as my tiny house. As far as size goes, it is a little large for an 8x12 tiny house, but it's doing a great job. And if I had a traditional wood stove in here, I'd have to clear out so much space around it that I'd probably take up just as much space. So really, size isn't that much of a con, but it's something to consider. But it's going to be perfect when I put an addition onto this thing. Let's get back to the bricks. Another thing with the bricks is, what I'm finding is they're staining. If I spill something on it, or smoke stain, something like that. So I think either what I'm going to do is, if I did it again, I'd try and find a high temperature clear to seal these bricks off. But I think what we're going to do is we're going to get some high temperature paint. We may paint it black, we may paint it red, may paint it green. But that'll seal up the bricks real good, and it won't look so nasty around the edge. The only other thing I might change on this thing is this top. I used a 1/4 inch piece of steel because that's what I had. Now, if I had the opportunity, I would have used a much thicker piece of steel, because what's happened is it's got a little tiny bit of a bow to it. If you want to use 1/4 inch, I'd recommend putting some L channel fastened to this. Maybe give it a little more reinforcement so it doesn't bow as much. And we may do that, we may not. It's not leaking, and it's not really a big deal. It's just a tiny bit of a bow. So thicker top or reinforcing would take care of that. Changes we might make. The first change I'm definitely going to be making is down there at the bottom where the metal chimney comes out of the stove. There's an elbow down there, and that's where I'm getting my major clogging when it does start to plug up. And it's hard to get in there. You can do it, it's just a little bit hard sometimes. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take and put a T just above that elbow at the bottom over there and put a lid on it. That way I can pull that off. I can get in there and clean it out. And also, if I want to fire it up when it's super cold, I can light a little fire in there and get the chimney heated up, and I don't have to worry about that little stove. The other thing I want to address is strapping this thing together. I neglected to actually tie this wall in with this main mass of bricks, so it actually tipped out just a tiny bit, only about 1/8 of an inch up here at the top. That we can fix. We're going to suck it back together, and we're going to put some straps around it to hold everything together better. Because what's been happening is the bricks have been expanding and contracting more than the door, so it loosened our door up, and we had to add some extra reinforcement here. Still working great. So I think of those straps, if I tie it into the door, it'll incorporate it all into one, and it'll be a much better. Well, there you go. The 3-year review on the tiny house mass heater. You got any questions about it? Go ahead and leave them down there in the comments, and we'll get back to you as soon as we can. And as always, thanks for watching. Until next time. Never change things by fighting the existing reality. To change something, build a new model that makes the existing model obsolete.
I'm a know-me, he's a know-me, she's a know-me, you're a know-me, wouldn't you like to be a know-me?
Put your comment down on the bottom.
Click the subscribe down on the bottom, click the like button,
Down on the bottom.
make a comment,
Down on the bottom.
peace out.